Okay, so what I want to do next is demo how to do this, what I just showed you, how to do it in IFTDSS. And then you're going to jump into the exercise and click the buttons yourself. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our landscape. We're going to, but in order to do that, we need to look at our burn unit boundary. Okay, so what I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do is go into, let's see, we'll go to the map studio first. Okay, and a few things about IFTDSS. If you ever need help, click on the help button up here. And if you click help center, it will take you to the help topic based on whatever page. If you say about this page, it'll take you to the help topic about the map. Okay, because we were on the map. So it'll say working in Map Studio because I was in the Map Studio. Okay, so that's how the help button works. You can just search the help system if you need to. We have a fabulous set of help in here. Josh Hyde, who's going to talk about smoke later in the week, is our guy that developed almost all of our online help, and he did a fantastic job. So if you ever need help, try the help system first. Chances are you're going to find your answer in there, okay? So use that, and I'll show you a few other tips as we're walking through the system. Okay, so I'm in the Map Studio. The first thing I need to do is upload my shapefile. So in the portal, there is a zip file. It's a .zip, Z-I-P, for your burn unit boundary. And you'll be able to download that from the portal. Just put it on your desktop. That's usually the easiest way. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this widget down here on upload shapefile in order to find that. If you save it on your desktop, it's usually the easiest way to do it. Of course, mine's not on my desktop, so I have to go find mine, which is a little painful. So hang with me here for a second. I know exactly where I put it, and it is right here. Burn unit boundary, whoops, right there, okay? I'm gonna say open, and up we go, here we go, we're getting started. So as this is thinking, now I've done a lot of this stuff ahead of time, so you don't have to wait for the system. There's a few things I will show you because I do wanna wait for a couple of things. So I've uploaded it, the exercise is gonna walk you straight through this, step by step. Okay, so I'm going to whiz through it pretty quick. I want to save that file now because I'm going to use that file over and over again. Okay, so I'm going to save that file to my workspace. In this case, it's called Cyrus Burn Unit Boundary, which is what it was called, which is fine. That's a fine name. We'll keep that name. But I want to save it in a folder because I want all my stuff to go in one folder so I can find it later. So I'm going to call my folder Cyrus RX, and it's December 7th. It's D-Day, by the way, just in case you weren't sure of that. I'm going to create the folder. So now I'm saving that burn unit boundary into that folder, and I can save and add to my map. Now what IFTDSS will do, it's going to save that, and it's going to zoom me into the burn unit. And there might be a delay. Is there a delay, Deb, or can you see? Okay, good. It's good. Okay. Okay, so there we are. There's our burn unit. Step one is done. So I can zoom out just a little bit. Okay, now we kind of know where we are in the world here. You can change your base maps if you want. I'm going to switch my base map. That's this widget down at the bottom. Hopefully it won't take too long here. Whenever I'm on a slow internet connection. Oh, it's going to be a little slow. There we go. All right, so I am going to switch to imagery. And so we're looking basically at Google Earth imagery here. Okay, now I can kind of zoom in and say, what is some of this fuel look like? Okay, so you can see that that is that shrub model that's outside of our burn unit that I think Amanda pointed out actually. That was the area kind of concern. And the reason that's a little bit of concern is there's a structure up here. Okay, so IFTDSS kind of lets you zoom around and sort of see what's on your map and where some other points of concern. We'll talk about that with holding. But for now, what we want to do is run some fire behavior on this. Okay, so I've got my burn unit boundary, and I know it's taking a second to draw. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to some of the stuff I already have done. I'll walk you through the steps really quickly. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we want to look at our fuel model. So the first thing we have to do is get a landscape. Okay, so the way to do that, we can go to a couple ways. We're going to do it this way. We're going to go to Landscape Tools. And And if this takes too long, like I said, I'm just going to jump to the stuff already. It's kind of like one of those cooking shows where they have all the, the onions and everything's all chopped up, and I just throw it in the pan, and then I turn around and out of the oven, I pull the, whatever I made. We might have to do a little bit of that if this takes too long. So just hang, and we'll give it a try. And if it's too painful, see, this is being a little slow. Okay, well, there it goes. Okay, so it did let me do that. So I'm going to create new. And in this case, I'm going to pick an area of interest, which is our burn unit. Okay, and it's going to draw a box. You could also draw a box by hand if you wanted to. Now, it drew the box right up to the edge of the burn unit. That's okay. We buffer all of our landscape extents. So you're always going to get calculations and fuel models outside of that initial box you drew. It doesn't just limit it to that little rectangle. Again, you want to save your landscape and put it in the folder so it's organized. Keep that in mind. So here's my December 7th folder, and I want to call this Cyrus RX 2014. Okay, we're good. I'm all set. I'm going to create that. I'm going to hit go, and it's going to go and make that landscape. It's going to go get that land fire data so we can look at the fuels data. Now, this one I'm not going to wait for because I know it will take a little while. You can go to your workspace and you can see that it's working on it. So this was the landscape I just submitted for it to go make it. And you can see it says building. You can use this little refresh button up here if you want to see what its status is. If you just let this sit for a bit, you have to refresh it to see if it's actually done or not. And when it's done, it'll say completed. Okay, but like I said, I've already done a whole bunch of these, and I don't want to wait for that. So I'm going to just go ahead into, this is a different folder. Don't worry about the folder names. You can also use this filter system up here, which is really nice. I have I've done a bunch of model runs. I've got a bunch of landscapes. I've done all kinds of playing around with this Cyrus burn plan. So I want to go find my landscape. So you can use these filters to get down to just the landscapes. Okay, in this case, I want that 2014 landscape. I want to view it on the map. So it's going to take me, and now I get to look at the fuel models. Okay, so here we are. This is from the screenshot I showed you earlier. I can zoom in. And in this case, I need to add that burn unit boundary back on here. We're eventually going to build a bookmark where you won't have to add these things in all the time. The best way to do this is once you're zoomed into your area, if you click filter by map extent, it knows what shape files are supposed to be on the map in that area. So in this case, I'm going to pick my burn unit boundary because I want to see the line on the map where the burn unit is. Okay, and this is our fuel model. So there we go. We just created our first landscape. Some of the tools in here you can use, this identify tool, this little I button. If I turn that on and I click on my Cyrus landscape, I can now click on the map and it'll tell me what's there. In this case, that one was a GS2 fuel model. The yellow over here is that GR2. And we've got some of that GS1. And I think there's one other. Another GS1, GR2, GS2. Remember, this is before we made any edits. So we still have those GR fuel models and the GS fuel models. And what we want to do is we want to change those GS fuel models to the shrub model, because we need shrub models in here because we need those higher flame lengths, right? So next step is to show you how to edit your landscape. Okay, so you can zoom around on this and click the mouse button with the identify tool and get some answers about what you're looking at. The other cool feature you can use is this little swipey tool. And if you click on that guy, and it always confuses me what I'm supposed to click, but I think I'm supposed to click that one. So now I can take this little swipey tool and I can see what the layer is underneath. So I can switch over to my base map. And if I want to look at that imagery again, and I would say, okay, right there where that point of concern was on the north line, I can go, yeah, what is that fuel model? So now I can go back to my little eye tool. I can click on that, and they're calling that grass shrub model. We know that that's a tall shrub, right? We need to change that to GS5. Okay, so now I've kind of got oriented on my map. And the next thing I'm going to do is adjust those fuel models. So the next step in the process is to do the editing. All right, so I'm going to go into the cycle, which is, this is our planning cycle in IFTDSS. Each of these pieces provides different elements that you can use to do things, to run fire behavior, look at a summary. Oh, I didn't show you the summary. Let me do that really quick. So that the landscape that we had with the fuel models, right? And you want to look at that bar graph that I showed you in the earlier screenshot. You do that through your workspace. Okay, so I'm going back to my Cyrus Hill folder. I'm going back to my landscape, and here's the 2014 landscape. Now I want to look at the bar graph of showing me what fuel models are broken down on that map. And in order to do that, I request a report. That's called a report. That output with the bar graph is a report. So this is where I do that. I do that all in the workspace. So I'm going to say request a report, and I want a landscape report. In this case, I've already made one because I made it ahead of time, so we didn't have to wait for it. So, but once you do that, it'll go churn away in the background and make your report for you. And then you can come back, and I can then click on reports. And now I'm just looking at reports. Okay. And here's my 2014 report that I just made. Well, I made earlier. Did the Julia Childs thing and chopped up the onions. And now here's the report. And I get to review the summary. And you can see this is what a report looks like. So that's that square, okay, of the landscape. And then this is the breakdown of those fuel models. Okay, it looks a little different. It's just because the size of my square is a little different than the one I showed you in the earlier picture. But the idea is the same. You get your report. Now in these reports, you can download these things. You can download a PDF. You can download a JPEG. So when you put these into your burn plan, you've got these little images and stuff that you can just grab right out of IFTDSS. So if I click this, it says download JPEG. All right, so there's different things to do in there. Okay, so that's how you get the summary report. That's where you get the breakdown of the little bar graph.